Picture this, right? You're standing in your kitchen and leaning really heavily against your leg is this wobbly Bernese Mountain Dog puppy.
Oh, yeah, with those huge paws.
Exactly, those impossibly oversized paws and this incredibly soft tricolored face. Just this clumsy, uncoordinated little body that's already practicing the habits it's going to, carry into adulthood.
It's such a specific face, yeah.
It is. But then fast forward a couple of years, picture that exact same dog, but now it's this broad, calm, incredibly powerful 100-pound adult.
Shedding generously across that exact same kitchen floor.
Oh, absolutely everywhere. Just greeting your visitors with that unmistakable, gentle, giant presence. And then, well, fast forward one more time. Picture the senior dog.
Right, the gray muzzle.
Yeah, a little slower now, grayer around the muzzle. Getting up from the floor takes genuine effort, but, I mean, it is still following you from room to room, watching you with those exact same soft eyes.
It is, it's just such a powerful sequence of images. Because the physical dog transforms completely across those stages, right?
Right.
But that core connection, that absolute devotion underneath it all, that never wavers.
Never. And that's exactly why we're here. Welcome to this deep dive. Today, our mission is to basically extract the ultimate lifetime health checklist for the Bernese Mountain Dog.
Yeah, which is so needed.
It really is.
Yeah.
We are going to explore exactly how to protect this gentle giant across its entire lifespan. Because, when most people look at a Bernese, they just see this beautiful, fluffy, oversized family pet.
Right, the classic family dog.
Right. But the reality is, this breed is fundamentally a Swiss working companion. Loving this dog requires a really unique balancing act. You have to manage its immense, undeniable physical strength alongside its surprising emotional softness.
And to set the stage for everything we are about to discuss today, we really need to introduce a core philosophy from the source material. The true weight of owning a Bernese Mountain Dog isn't just about their literal physical weight on the scale. It is the weight of responsibility. It's the responsibility required to manage their incredibly rapid growth, to maintain a very demanding coat, and, to really honor that deep emotional attachment they form with you.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And that responsibility, it shifts and changes, but it never actually goes away.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because everything is built in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
We absolutely have to start with puppyhood and the nutritional foundation.
Oh, definitely. The foundation is everything.
Right. And when I was looking into the early developmental stages for this deep dive, I just kept thinking of building a Bernese, like building a massive suspension bridge.
Okay, I like that visual.
Yeah, because if you are rushing the construction of that bridge just for the bragging rights of having, the biggest bridge in the fastest time, you are fundamentally compromising the entire structure.
What's really fascinating here is how perfectly that analogy aligns with the biological reality of giant breeds. Like, think of a puppy's bones as the steel cables of that suspension bridge.
Okay, the steel cables.
Right. And then their body mass, so the fat and the muscle, that's the heavy concrete. If you pile on a massive amount of concrete before the steel cables have properly set and strengthened, what happens?
The bridge collapses.
Exactly. It collapses under its own weight. And that is exactly what accelerated growth does to a giant breed puppy's joints. When a puppy grows too fast, their developing skeletal system simply cannot keep up with their rapidly expanding body mass.
Wow, which means we have to feed them for soundness, not for size. But what does that actually look like in practice?
Well, it requires a lot of caution.
Because I see things in the source material like boutique brands, homemade diets, and especially grain-free diets on the strict do not feed list without veterinary input. Wait, grain-free? I thought grain-free was supposed to be the premium healthy option for dogs.
Yeah, that is a very, very common misconception. The veterinary consensus right now is extremely cautious about grain-free diets, specifically for large breeds.
Really? Why is that?
Well, the FDA has actually been investigating a potential link between grain-free diets, particularly the ones using high amounts of peas, lentils, and, other legumes, and a serious heart condition called dilated cardiomyopathy, or DCM.
Oh, wow. DCM.
Yeah. The working theory is that these legumes might be blocking the dog's ability to synthesize taurine, and taurine is an amino acid that's absolutely critical for heart muscle function.
That is wild. So you think you're doing them a favor by buying the trendy, really expensive bag of food, and you might actually be damaging their heart.
Exactly. And beyond the heart, there is the immediate concern of bone growth. Like, a giant breed puppy diet requires a hyperspecific ratio of calcium to phosphorus.
Okay.
If you try to just wing it with a homemade diet, or if you use a brand that hasn't undergone rigorous long-term feeding trials, you risk throwing off that ratio completely.
And what happens if the ratio is off?
Well, if there's too much calcium, their bones harden prematurely and abnormally, and that leads to severe orthopedic issues like osteochondritis dissecans.
Osteochondritis dissecans, that sounds awful.
It is. It's where the cartilage essentially detaches from the bone. This is exactly why you must plan their nutrition strictly with a vet, focusing on steady, controlled development.
Okay, so the nutrition is the internal building material. We have the steel cables and the concrete. But what about the external environment? Because apparently we have to meticulously manage the physical space they live in down to the actual flooring.
Yes, absolutely. You aren't just feeding for joint health, you are managing their entire physical environment for joint health.
Right.
That means putting down non-slip flooring or, adding heavy area rugs over your beautiful hardwoods. You have to prevent excessive jumping, and you absolutely have to control their use of stairs while those growth plates are still forming.
Hold on, for a puppy. I mean, I get that an old arthritic dog needs rugs, but why does a floppy 12-week-old puppy need a rug to walk across the kitchen?
It really comes down to the biomechanics of their developing joints. Think about the hip joint, right? It is a ball and socket.
Okay.
Well, in a puppy, that socket is still very shallow, and the ligaments holding the ball in place are loose. So when a clumsy, heavy-pawed puppy walks on slick hardwood, their legs subtly splay outward with every single step. They are constantly slipping.
Oh, and that stretches the joint out.
Precisely. Every little slip is a microtrauma. It micro-stretches those ligaments that are holding the joint together. Over months of slipping on hardwood floors, that continuous laxity can permanently alter how the joint actually forms.
Wow.
Yeah, which is a massive contributing factor to hip dysplasia later in life.
That is incredibly eye-opening. You are quite literally shaping their skeleton with your living room rug.
You really are.
And beyond the physical environment, there is the behavioral foundation. You have to start handling them early. You need to get this puppy completely used to having its paws touched, its ears checked, its mouth opened, its full body handled.
Yes, early handling is crucial.
Because let's be honest, you need to do this before the dog becomes far too big to argue with.
Totally. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the kindest time to teach a giant is before it actually becomes one.
I love that phrasing.
Right. Think about cooperative care for grooming and vet handling. It is so much easier to teach a 20-pound puppy that nail trims are safe than it is to wrestle a panicked 100-pound adult.
Oh, I can't even imagine wrestling a 100-pound dog to clip its nails.
It's not fun. So you are quietly building the adult Bernese through these consistent early puppy routines.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because once we have this structurally sound, physically massive adult dog, how do you actually safely move and live with it every single day?
It changes everything.
There's this idea from the source that just stopped me in my tracks. It said, gentle is not the same as trained. Just because a Bernese has a famously sweet disposition doesn't mean it magically knows how to navigate a human household safely.
Exactly. They aren't born knowing our rules.
But wait, if I can't take this massive dog on a 10-mile hike or, a long run to tire it out, how on earth do I keep it from getting bored and just destroying my living room?
This raises a really important question about the difference between physical fatigue and mental fatigue. A Bernese doesn't need harder exercise. It needs wiser exercise.
Wiser exercise.
Right. Because of their sheer mass and their incredibly dense double coats, they are highly sensitive to heat. Pushing them to physical exhaustion is genuinely dangerous. So, wiser exercise means prioritizing low-impact activities like sniffing walks.
Sniffing walks, like just letting them stop at every single mailbox and bush.
Yes, intentionally letting them do that. A dog's olfactory bulb is massive compared to ours. When a dog is intensely sniffing and processing complex scents, they are burning a tremendous amount of cognitive energy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so 20 minutes of intense sniffing and mental processing can tire a Bernese out more safely and thoroughly than an hour of forced running. And it does it without putting any dangerous impact on their joints.
That makes total sense. And it directly avoids that whole weekend warrior syndrome.
Exactly.
You can't just leave them bored on the couch Monday through Friday and then expect them to hike a mountain on Saturday. Sudden bursts of overexertion after quiet weeks are basically just a recipe for torn cruciate ligaments.
Oh, absolutely. And behaviorally, wiser management means establishing non-negotiable rules early on. Polite greetings are essential. You can never reward jumping, even when they're a cute, tiny puppy.
Right, because the physics of a 100-pound adult Bernese jumping on your elderly neighbor or like a toddler,
Mm,
that is a genuine hospital trip level safety hazard.
it's a huge liability.
I also really love the concept of barking recovery rather than barking suppression in the source. Again, it's a Swiss working dog, right? Historically, part of its job was to guard the farm perimeter and alert the farmer to strangers. It is going to bark.
Exactly. You can't just turn that off. The goal isn't to aggressively punish the bark out of them because you are literally fighting centuries of genetics. The goal is to teach them to recover. You acknowledge the alert, you say, "Thank you, I see the mailman," and then you cue them to settle down. And similarly, you really have to teach them genuine comfort with being alone.
Oh, the separation anxiety issue.
Yeah, their deep, historic pack attachment to their humans is beautiful, but if you don't foster independence, it can easily mutate into severe separation anxiety.
Which all ties back into absolute family consistency, right?
Yeah.
Every single member of the household has to enforce the same expectations. And as the owner, you are constantly observing.
Always observing.
You are watching for incredibly subtle signs, like a slight limp, a bit of stiffness after a nap, or just a reluctance to hop into the back of the car.
And this observation, it's relevant at every single life stage, not just when they are old. It is practicing attention with purpose.
Attention with purpose.
Right. When you know what their normal gait and energy level looks like, you aren't living in anxiety, you are actually empowered. You spot the abnormal immediately.
And that observation becomes critically important as we move into the next phase, the shifting partnership of adulthood into the senior years.
It's a big transition.
It is. As the dog matures and inevitably starts to slow down, the entire strategy has to shift. You transition away from training the dog to fit your life, and you start actually modifying your environment to support the dog.
Adult prevention is really where all your earlier routines crystallize into a system. Grooming, for example, is no longer just about managing that massive amount of shedding.
Right. It's not just about the fur on the couch.
No, grooming becomes a deliberate, tactile inspection.
Because underneath all that fur, you can't just see a changing waistline or like a weird lump forming.
Exactly. You have to physically get your hands beneath that incredibly thick coat.
Mhm.
You are feeling for any new lumps, you're tracking subtle changes in their muscle mass, or noting localized areas of heat and swelling over a joint.
Right.
You are solidifying your vet records, essentially building a lifelong baseline of health data.
But the real shift happens when they reach their senior years. The source said, the Bernese Mountain Dog doesn't simply fit into a home. The home has to make room for the Bernese.
It's such a great quote.
I kept thinking of it as baby-proofing a house, but entirely in reverse. You are senior-proofing for a giant.
That is a fantastic analogy. The physical home modifications become completely non-negotiable.
Right.
You are introducing ramps to help them get into the car or navigate the porch stairs. You are doubling down on that non-slip flooring because a senior dog losing its footing can result in a catastrophic, unrecoverable injury.
Oh, that's terrifying.
It is. You are upgrading to highly supportive orthopedic bedding to really cushion those aging joints.
And it's not just physical pain management, right? It's emotional security. You have to have incredible patience with cognitive changes or moments of confusion. But, I mean, why do we have to be the ones to adapt the house so drastically? Why don't they just tell us when they hurt?
Well, because of the profound stoicism of the breed. And this brings us to a really crucial understanding of their psychology. A senior Bernese is not less Bernese. The body simply asks for a different kind of partnership.
Okay.
They are stoic farm dogs with a deep-rooted pack survival instinct. Displaying weakness goes completely against their nature.
Wow.
Yeah. So combine that stoicism with a dense coat that physically hides swelling and muscle wasting, and hidden discomfort is just dangerously easy to miss.
So they will literally suffer in silence just to stay near you.
Yes, they want to be with you so badly that they will push through agonizing joint pain to follow you up the stairs or into the kitchen. Providing those ramps and rugs isn't just about safety, it is about preserving their dignity.
That is so powerful.
It really takes away the painful choice. It allows them to maintain their bond with you without having to physically suffer to do it.
That is heartbreaking, but so important to understand. But speaking of things hiding beneath the surface, even with flawless prevention, even with senior proofing your entire house, acute emergencies are still going to happen.
So unfortunately, yes.
Which brings us to the emergency playbook. How do you actually know when to act?
The veterinary data provides a very clear, uncompromising list of red flags that require immediate, and I mean, not wait and see until tomorrow morning, but immediate veterinary attention.
Right. Things like severe lethargy, pale or blue gums, sudden collapse, unexplained weight loss, or lumps that are rapidly changing.
Exactly.
But there's one specific emergency that just looms over giant breeds constantly. The absolute nightmare scenario. Bloat, or GDV. We hear the word bloat all the time, but what is actually happening inside the dog to make it such a non-negotiable emergency?
Yeah, GDV. It stands for gastric dilatation volvulus. And it is terrifying because it is a mechanical failure of the body that happens incredibly fast.
A mechanical failure.
Right. So dilatation means the stomach rapidly fills with gas and fluid, expanding just like a balloon. And volvulus means that expanded stomach then physically twists over on its own axis within the abdomen.
Oh my God. It just flips over.
It flips over, and in doing so, it pinches off both the entrance and the exit of the stomach. But even worse, that twisting crimps the major blood vessels returning to the heart, and it often drags the spleen along with it, cutting off its blood supply too.
That sounds horrific.
It is. The dog goes into systemic shock, and the stomach tissue literally begins to die from lack of blood. And because it is a physical twisting, no medication can fix it. It requires emergency surgical intervention immediately.
Which explains why knowing the early signs is literally life or death.
Mm-hmm.
So if your dog is pacing endlessly, displaying severe restlessness, has a hard, distended abdomen, or is doing that unproductive retching,
Yes, the retching.
where they look and sound like they're trying to throw up but absolutely nothing's coming out. If you see that, you don't wait. You get in the car.
Exactly. Minutes matter with GDV. You have to act fast.
And to manage all of this health data, the weight tracking, the lumps, the emergency histories, over a decade or more, there's a strong emphasis on using tracking tools.
Very strong emphasis, yeah.
Like something like the VitalPet app, or even just a dedicated notebook to log their exact food portions, incidents of limping, and for senior dogs, logging the ratio of good days versus hard days. But I have to push back a little bit on behalf of the listener here.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
So what does this all actually mean? Isn't tracking every single limp, logging every single treat, and journaling about good versus bad days just going to make an owner totally paranoid?
I can see how it sounds like that.
Right. Doesn't mapping out every potential disaster take the joy out of simply having a dog?
It is a very fair pushback. If you view it as a list of fears to obsess over, then yes, it would cause paranoia. But if we look at the reality of veterinary care, the answer is no. This checklist is a map for loyalty.
A map for loyalty.
Yes. Think about standing in a vet clinic during a highly stressful moment. Say your dog is suddenly limping, or you're trying to figure out if it's time to consider end-of-life care for a senior. Human memory is incredibly fuzzy under adrenaline.
Right. The vet asks, so how long have you been limping? And you freeze and just say, a few weeks, maybe.
Exactly. And tracking turns those fuzzy, emotionally clouded memories into concrete data. You can open your phone and say, he started limping on the right front leg 3 weeks ago. It only happens after he rests, and his hard days now outnumber his good days 3-1.
Oh, that makes sense.
It means every vet visit is grounded in real, actionable patterns. And paradoxically, knowing the emergency signs, cold understanding exactly what GDV looks like, actually provides profound peace of mind.
Because you aren't guessing.
Exactly. You aren't constantly wondering if you should panic over every burp. You simply know the parameters of their health.
That is a huge reframe.
Yeah.
It's taking control rather than just waiting around in the dark for a disaster. So bringing this all together, the beautiful, striking tricolored coat that makes everyone fall in love with the Bernese Mountain Dog is truly just the beginning.
Just the surface.
Yeah. The real love, the actual deep bond, is found in the daily, intentional routine of caring for the heavy, powerful, deeply sensitive body that lives beneath that coat.
Absolutely. The health story of a Bernese Mountain Dog is not written in dramatic, chaotic moments at the emergency vet. It is written quietly in the daily routines.
The day-to-day.
Yeah. It's in the steady, controlled feeding to protect those growing bones. It's in the wise, low-impact exercise. It's in the early handling, the observant grooming, and, the willingness to literally rearrange your living room to protect their dignity in old age.
It is a lifelong partnership with a dog whose historical farm work has basically evolved into the very modern work of being your constant family companion.
And that transition of their work is such a fascinating lens to look through.
It really is.
Because they went from physically pulling heavy dairy carts through the Swiss countryside, enduring freezing temperatures and really hard labor, to offering this profound, stabilizing companionship in our modern living rooms. The farm dog's work never really ended. It just changed shape.
Which actually brings up a really thought-provoking idea to leave you with today. As you picture that incredible shift from physical labor to emotional anchor, it makes you wonder about our own human lives.
Oh, that's an interesting point.
Right. As our own physical capabilities inevitably change over our human lifetimes, how might our own work and our own value within our families similarly shift? We move from providing physical labor, endless energy, and, financial hustling in our youth
Mm-hmm.
to perhaps offering something purely emotional, stabilizing, and deeply loyal as we age.
That is a beautiful parallel. The body simply asks for a different kind of partnership, right? Whether you are a Swiss farm dog or a human being.
Exactly. So the next time you picture that wobbly Bernese puppy leaning heavily against your leg, remember that you aren't just raising a dog, you're making a promise. A promise to manage their strength, protect their softness, and adapt your whole world for them, all the way until they are that slower, gray-faced senior, still following you from room to room with those exact same soft eyes.